Cool. Hi, guys. This is the Creatures of the Night podcast.
And I'm Wendy.
Yes, I'm Chris. Thank you so much for returning to come and listen to us some more. I know it's only been a week for you. It's been like weeks for Wendy and I to do.
We like to take these long breaks so that when we come back, it's really rough. We've forgotten what to do. But look, we're doing so good already. We introduced the podcast right away.
Because I had no other way to start this. We're just going to get that shit started right away.
It's a good icebreaker, yeah.
Yeah, it is a good icebreaker. So what do you do, Wendy, on your podcast?
I tell ghost stories.
Oh my God, that's what I do on my podcast too.
Oh, sweet. We should podcast together.
That's what we're doing tonight.
Excellent.
So speaking of podcasting, and I guess before I really get started, I have to apologize for a few things that I messed up on previous podcasts. I don't know if we have a name for this. Sometimes I say like my big oops. We haven't like officially deemed the incorrections corner or whatever it is that we do.
Right. Oops corner, I think is what we've called.
Let's just say I fucked up, guys. So
yeah. That's the truth.
I did.
You,
and
not
I always,
me. I'm perfect.
I stick my foot in my mouth so often on this podcast, and sometimes I'm like, it's no big deal, whatever. And then I go and listen to it. And I'm like, oh, the whole world just heard that.
So it eats at you, you know?
It does. Yeah, it does. Because then, like, I listen to it before I go to work, and then I'm at work, and I'm like, I hate it here. But my podcast is going to be great. Nope. I screwed that up. Everybody knows. She doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. So I realized after editing together two of our last shows that we recorded during our quote-unquote podcastathon that my sound was not only not right, but I also had recorded this little chiming alert noise that my computer likes to make when something interesting happens on Pinterest, of all things.
There's all kinds of interesting things happening there.
I know. I get a little alert too. It's like bling, bling, bling. Here it is. Well, I remember when we recorded, I saw it pop up and I closed it out and I closed it out. And I'm like, no big deal. It's never recorded that noise before. Aha. But the last two episodes, it most certainly did. So you'll notice that something is chiming in the background, and no, it is not an angel singing. Even though that would have been awesome, it was basically just Pinterest. I couldn't edit those parts out.
Like a gift from heaven, though.
It was like a gift from heaven. It was like, you might also be interested in this since you also like gluten-free cookies. Yes. I am interested in that. But so you'll hear it come up as Wendy's talking. I decided to leave it in because when she's talking, she's giving you very important information that I could not just take out of the story. I couldn't like take this out and stitch in some other way of saying, this is the history of it. So you'll definitely notice it if you haven't listened to her podcast yet. The last one was on the USS Texas. So there's my oops on that. And that all happened when I just bought a new mic and a whole new rig to try and record in a fashion so that other like noises in my apartment would be removed. And yeah, I haven't really had the chance to work out those kinks since we recorded those last episodes. So tonight, as Wendy already pointed out, and you guys missed it, I am back to my old microphone system. So hopefully it won't sound too bad. And I apologize for all of the additional noises you got on the last podcast.
I think that the issue is your rig is super professional looking. And I've seen so many professional podcasters, you know, like on Instagram or whatever, they're taking photos of themselves while they're interviewing someone or whatever. They have those fancy things. And because these mics are like the better mic you get, the more sensitive they are. So we're trying to make our voices sound good, especially since we're doing this over Skype. And so it's almost like over a phone call. So we're trying to get a better quality mic. But then our whole household won't fucking go away. And life won't stop. I mean, so we have to make all these accommodations in our household, or we're trying to develop some kind of funnel to put ourselves in.
Yeah, it has super sensitive hearing, just like my dog. Whenever I turn the air fryer on, she has to go run and hide. I think that this mic is the same. It's maybe the same manufacturer. I don't know. Kohl's, maybe they put out mics. I don't know.
I don't know. But I get it. It's tough. So dudes, you either like the stories or you don't. And we can't make the sound perfect for you because we can't afford plane tickets every month to go and knock these suckers out. That's the ultimate dream, though. Maybe we should start, what is those things called? Not a GoFundMe, but a Patreon.
A Patreon. Maybe we should, like every other podcaster that's out there.
We don't want to beg for cash from you for anything. This is something we enjoy doing, and it's our way of connecting with other people that enjoy talking about the paranormal, and that's why we put this out there. So we don't want to do a Patreon and ask for money or anything like that. But, you know, if it was something you were into, you know, by all means, let us know.
Drop us a link. Yeah, let us know.
We'll give you some extra content for some dollars. Man, we sound like kind of prostitutes there. I don't know. That's kind of weird.
Speaking of Pinterest, I did see some lady. It was a meme. Her head was in her hand. Like, maybe prostitution isn't that bad. That work.
I have that thought almost every day when I'm at work.
You know, you gotta think. Maybe sometimes there's something else that's out there that's much better. And like, this is definitely our dream to do this. But we only just started out like Skyping. Wendy and I, and we were telling each other just spooky stories. And when, you know, we would paint and drink and talk about ghosts, and we're like, you know what? Since we're drinking, let's start doing this like legit.
Yeah. People would love to hear these stories and stuff that we find. And I think it's working out. We have some listeners. So,
yeah. So to our listeners, again, I apologize for the sound deficits. I also have another oops to mention. This is going to be the oops episode from Chris. Since I'm on the subject, I learned that I pronounced the lake's name incorrectly from the last story that I did, which was called, you know what we need around here? A cursed lake.
How do you pronounce it?
It's actually pronounced Lanier.
That sounds pretty much like what you were saying.
I was putting like a Y in there, like Lanier. So I was like Lake Lanier, right? Sydney Lanier, but it's Lanier. And by the way, anybody who listened that's from Georgia or Atlanta area was like, dummy? Nope. Because when I should have done this before, but I knew that there was news articles on this place. I read them. I never watched any of the news articles on it. And when I posted one on Instagram, because I listened to it, I was like, oh, listen to how they actually say it. That's not how I said it. Man.
But sometimes those people pronounce it wrong too, you know? So you never know. You're just like, it's a blind leading the blind. But True. I think that's very close. And let's face it, you have a unique accent. You were born in Chicago, raised in Tennessee, and now you live in New Hampshire. I mean, like...
It's all over the damn place, for sure.
Nobody can understand what you're saying half the time.
100%. Oh my God, you're so... Yes, that is so true, because when I try to speak to text, I always get some other jumbled out words, and I don't even proofread it. I just send it, and then I read it later, and I'm like, how does Wendy even understand what any of this ever says? I don't know. So
lots of years together, but
yeah, my mix of Chicago / Mississippi borderline Tennessee accent. And you guys come back every week to listen to our stories. Thank you guys so much.
I feel like your lake pronunciation wasn't that bad.
Thank you.
I wouldn't beat yourself up about it, is all I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, it's totally not when I mispronounced wraith chasers.
That may be why they're not best friends with us, but...
Yeah, I was ruined it. Too.
No.
I ruined it. I ruined a lot of things. Speaking of ruining things, so let's talk about vacation time.
No, you stop that. That vacation was the best.
Oh yes. So what Wendy's talking about is that she was recently in my neck of the woods, and oh my God, it was absolutely the best. I can't even express to you listeners how much fun I have when her whole family is with me. I just feel like I am finally with my people, and we are out in New Hampshire just like, let's go, charging through all of the ice cold waters and the mountainous terrain while we listen to whatever country station my husband happens to find on the radio.
Which is a joke because he doesn't like country music.
No. He does whatever possible to get a laugh out of somebody. So he'll just stop it on Madonna, which is my jam, or country, which is nobody's jam. So we went all over the place. And with only 5 days to cover as much ground as we did, I think we did a pretty good job. We went to the beach, a river, Star Island. We found this amazing little out-of-the-way swimming hole. And even though the water was freezing cold, we all got in.
Yeah.
We climbed. It was freezing cold. Like, we really had to talk Wendy into getting. And she only finally got in once we weren't paying any attention.
I had to pee.
It was ice cold. No kidding, right?
I know that's disgusting. You had to see where we were at. It was the only choice.
There were no other options. Either the woods, and maybe not so safe because there were some trailers around there.
And I'm super allergic to poison ivy, so I'm not bringing my ass around plants at all.
No, that's for the better. That's true. I definitely don't want to send your ass home with poison ivy on it.
No.
So we all climbed around some cool forts, and we sort of did some spelunking through some tiny little caves, even though it's not really spelunking when you know, I guess you know what you're getting yourself into, but I like to think of it as spelunking.
Oh, I think it totally counts, and it's my favorite form of spelunking now. To know this is just a little line, you're going to get through it, and you'll be on the other side. It's fine. Because I've had to, for real, splunk. I don't know if that's a word, but where the guide is just like, okay, we're going to go in this thing. It's only about 1.5 feet wide, and we're going to go for like, I don't know, 10 fucking yards. Let's go. Get on your bellies. And it's like, no.
But that was the best part. I loved that everyone was like, they liked the cave that was the scariest. The one that the lemon squeezer, everyone's like, that was the best one. I didn't even go in that one because I'm like, yeah, no. I'm standing up trying to take pictures of everyone squeezing through. And there was a lady in front of Wendy. She's like, yeah, I made a mistake by wearing my backpack. Where do I put it? And Wendy's like, just hand it to that lady up there. She looks unsuspecting. So she handed me her bag. And she was so cute. Like, I've never been spelunking or to the caves for that matter and saw someone dressed so cutely to go through those caves. She was wearing like a chiffon blouse with like white and green striped shorts.
Yeah.
Like, she was dressed to go partying, but she seemed to be having the best time in the cave.
It's like when you see people at the zoo in high heels and you're like, somebody didn't tell them what they were doing today.
No kidding. Speaking of, do you remember when we went to the beach on the 4th of July and there were people, Hampton Beach, there were people walking through there in heels. I'm like, lady, where are you going in heels at the beach?
Her Tinder date didn't tell her where they were going for the night.
No kidding.
That's the only thing I think when I see those things.
I think you're right. I think that's what was going on.
That lady was super cool, though. She was super adventurous despite the way she was dressed, because when she thought the lemon squeeze, that was it, and we were done, and she's like, it doesn't go any further. And I was like, it has to. Like, this isn't it. Like, with some help, my son, like, told us where we have to go. And you basically have to lay on the ground and crawl underneath this. Like, you would never know it was there, of course, but this little kid found it, which is not that little, but he's really scrawny. And then I told them about it, the lady, and I was like, I don't know if you want to do it. You have to, like, get on your belly. And she was like, okay. And she was, like, right behind us.
She sure did. And going back to your son, he is my cave companion from now on. He was just such a trooper. My son gets down there. Oh, first of all, my son is like, nope. Why are you forcing this on me? You know I hate doing things that involve nature or crawling or anything outside of my computer. I'm like, come on, do it, man. Nope. But I get down there with your son and he's like, basically like, look at this, look at the waterfall. Oh, look at the land and you're not supposed to touch it. Touch it, Chris, touch it. I'm like, I'm going to touch it. It was one of my most favorite experiences was going there with you guys. I only have certain people that will allow this whole situation with me. And I'm very much an explorer as long as I have people that are willing to go with me. So that was awesome, and I highly recommend it if you're ever in New Hampshire to go to the, what was it called?
Lost River Gorge.
Gorge and Caves. Yes, that's what it was. A lot of fun. So we also floated down an extremely long-ass river with my dog.
That was like in slow motion, by the way.
It was. The slowest. We ended up taking like the full day course now that we know that it legitimately is a full day, we'll never have to do it again. Because, yeah, it took, and by the time we got out, we were almost like late for our, getting out, basically, because you had to get out at 5 o'clock or otherwise they charge you more money. We almost got there too late. We started like super early. Early.
I honestly think that it could be a different situation if you had had more rain or something like that. Like we had rain just the day before, but not that much. I mean, it's just the river wasn't really moving, but it was still really fun. Like even my kids said how fun it was. And I was like, really? Because I remember having to drag some people's asses to make sure that we're there by 5 o'clock.
Some people's asses is Chris Duncan's ass.
No, it wasn't just Chris Duncan, though. It's always a child or two holding on to Chris Duncan as well.
That's true. They're like, drag me with you. Wendy was charging through this. I remember I was sitting in the tube and I'm like, you want me to help you? And she's like, no, it's cool. I got it. She's got our beer cooler, Chris Duncan, and whatever child was like training on this whole tube situation. And she's just like trucking through this water. It's like, and if she didn't, honestly, we might have been late getting back. So
I only did it towards the end because you had done it a lot in the beginning, though. So we're both superheroes is all I'm saying.
That's true. When we first got there, it was a little chilly, but
yeah, I was like, I'm not getting in that water. It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
While most of us ended up getting sunburnt, I really don't remember anybody complaining, which is just very shocking to me. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I always got sunburnt, and it just like ruined my vacation. Everybody was sunburnt when they got back to the house, but everyone was still just so happy, and it's awesome and warm, and it's like, can I just have this all the time? The Paranormal Odyssey got such a super huge workout driving all over town. And I even got to introduce Wendy to the childhood home of H.H. Holmes. Like, how do you do? This is Wendy. Wendy, this is the childhood home of H.H. Holmes.
That was after tubing, right?
No, we did that after the spelunking.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember what day that was. But yeah, we left the whole cave and the little swimming hole. And then, I could hear the two Duncans conspiring some kind of secret. And then somebody asked, where are we going? And they were like, you'll see. And I was like, okay.
I didn't want to say, the only reason why I didn't want to say is because if I was wrong in where I thought we were, then I didn't want you to be like, oh, we're going to the H.H. Holmes. Like, she's got her list out of things that she's ready to check off, and the H.H. Holmes house visit was on it. I don't want to be like, oh, I was in the wrong area. So then she just sadly puts the list down, and she's just like, what the? But it didn't happen. I did actually get to take her over there, and it's just a cute little house. I mean, somebody actually lives in the house, so you can't go in it and tour it because they're, but they should. They want a little money on the side. I'd be renting that shit out to be like, come on in, have a tour.
Yeah, fuck yeah. So. I would have saw the two weirdo girls up front and been like, do you want to come in?
Right.
$20.
$5 a head.
Oh,
$20 a head. I like that. That's what I'd be doing anyways. I mean, the parking around here, we went to Hampton Beach today. It was $40 a car.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Nope. $40 a car. So yeah, entry to H.H. Holmes childhood house. I think I would do that. Yeah. $40 a head. Come on. Yes. And I would produce it. And here's mine. And here's Wendy's. How do I get like on the, what is it called when you get the membership? The membership. I come through here often. So back to the oops corner. Like I said, I still managed to ruin their vacation because I got the dates wrong about the lighthouse that I so desperately wanted them to tour, and the lobster in my lobster rolls was not super cold like it should have been.
You said that. That's your husband's opinion. We don't get to eat lobster all the time, so we were like, this is the best, gobble, gobble, gobble. and just everything was so good. Like, we enjoyed ourselves so much.
So good. Then I take back my oops corner. So now, because of this amazing vacation that I just shared with you all, I get to tell you all a little story, which is by no means a little story either. It's actually pretty big. Since I've been hanging on to it for quite some time now, and I've only been like piecing it together over the years, not so much on paper, which would have been the smarter, easier thing for me to do. Nope, I don't do things like that. I just keep it all in my head. And then Wendy's like, we're coming up there. I'm like, yay, I can podcast about this. Ooh, now I got to write it down so that I can tell the world, which I didn't have done in time while she was here. Otherwise, we probably could have podcasted about it, but nope. Like I said, oops corner podcast is what I'm telling you.
That's a fail on both our parts. Like, we always envision, oh, we're going to do some Facebook Lives. We're going to make some videos while we're together. We're going to podcast. And then it's like, actually, we're just going to get so into what we're doing that we forget to do all that stuff. So we are horrible at marketing ourselves, basically. We're so just not that into it as much as, I mean, I think if it was just the two of us, we might do a bit more. But when you've got the distraction of your family and just everything going on, it's really hard. So that's an oops from both of us, because we were prepared to podcast, and then it was like, or we can eat a lot of food, drink a lot of wine, get ready to go to bed.
I know, right? But by the time we ate a lot of food, drank a lot of wine, and got ready for bed, it was super late in the night every night. And we were up at the ass crack of dawn, just going back out the next day. So there was no relaxing on this vacation, guys. Not what's... So... unofficially, Wendy already knows a few of the stories that I'm going to tell you, because I couldn't help but blabber mouth away as we toured a little bit of the area. I try to play like I'm going to be this amazing haunted tour guide, but I mostly just end up stopping and pointing at places like, look, Wendy, that place is haunted over there. And then look over there, that one's haunted too. Not like I can actually tell her why or what's really happening at those places. I just know I've heard something about it and it's worth checking out someday. So add it to your list. Also, my dad had come up just before Wendy. Then Wendy was here. And then my uncle and aunt and cousins all kind of surprise visited me too, like right after Wendy left. So since we were talking about being exhausted, yeah, I was just like wiped out. But since I don't get to see my uncle and aunt like ever either while they were here, I tried really hard to cram in as much sightseeing and being with them as I possibly could, just like I do when anybody comes. I just get so excited to see people. I'm like, you got to see this. Let's go. So it's like nonstop.
That was the first time that your uncle had been up that way, though, right?
100%.
Yeah. I knew you were going to do just like you do with us and go all out. Because like the first time that we ever came up there in the summer, I swear to God, we must have seen like 5 different places in one day. And it was like some moving tour constantly. You know, like when you get on the bus and they take you to each location, that's the way it was. You didn't even have the Odyssey yet.
No, I didn't. But now that I do, and my aunt was here, she's like, you know, Uber pays people with vans more than they pay. And I'm like, hello, thanks for that spectacular idea. I'm digging it.
You should start Ubering, and then when you pick people up, you only play our podcast during the trip. And you'd be like, these girls are great. No, my name's Teresa. I know I sound a lot like that girl. Isn't that crazy?
That is so weird. That's not why I listen, I promise.
Sorry. Just a marketing idea I had there.
I love it. And wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I do appreciate the idea there, because I'm considering this whole Uber thing. I mean, why not? I've got the sweet van now.
Most definitely what you do is play our podcast the whole time. No, sorry, the radio's broke.
Guys.
Yeah.
It only plays my podcast. I mean, this great podcast about haunting stuff.
I don't know these people. It's just great. Okay, so
that's
sorry.
So funny. No, it's funny because I was actually going to talk about another life goal of mine. So on top of being a world famous podcaster, my aunt was going on and on about my lobster rolls, and I'm thinking about one day starting a gluten-free lobster roll and lobster mac and cheese truck on top of the Uber experience of the podcast.
I would be your number one customer, whatever. Those are my 2 most favorite things in the fucking world. Well, I like tacos a lot too, but...
I love tacos. And apparently New Englanders get tacos wrong by putting sweet relish in that. Don't do that shit.
So what was that place called? British Beer Company? Stop that shit.
Sure. Stop it. So, Wendy, did I ever tell you about my dream to open up a barbecue place?
No.
Well, so originally, and this idea goes way, way back. I was going to open up a barbecue place, and I was going to call it Chupacabra Barbecue. So now that I'm in New England and I'm leaning more towards the lobster idea, I was thinking of maybe calling it the Laka Waka lobster truck.
Oh my gosh.
And that's because, so obviously the chupacabra is this cryptid. The Laka Waka is a New England cryptid or a ghost or a sea monster, or however you want to spin it. I'm not really sure. And like most cryptids, no one's really ever gotten to the bottom of its story. But since this one has paranormal undertones, I'm a little more partial to the Laka Waka lobster truck now.
This is the most golden idea ever.
I know, right? So Uber driver, podcast, and would you like a Laka Waka lobster roll? Boom. What? Tell me more. All right. So as I mentioned earlier, I told Wendy some of the stories, but I saved the Laka Waka for the podcast. And guess what? This creature of legend seems to have been spotted out among the very strange and very spooky Isles of Shoals, which is, yes, one of the places Wendy and I toured while she was here, and coincidentally, where I'm taking all of you for my story today.
I love it. I'm on the boat.
You're on the boat? So, back to the Laka Waka. I just like saying it like Fozzie Bear, Waka Waka Waka.
Yes. So I'm a big Muppets fan, and then all this paranormal stuff too. So I'm just like a fucking child. So
yes. I told my husband today while we were at the beach, I was so excited to tell you about this. Like, I'm bursting at the seams. And I told him right away, and he's like, say that again. Say what? No, you heard me right. I know I did like 1,000 oopses this morning, but come on. It's spelled Lakawaka. So there's no way I'm mispronouncing it. It's Laka Waka. And it's been reported as being some sort of a creature or a haunting that's been sighted around these parts since 1872. And probably even before that, but 1872 per the earliest recorded sighting. Like somebody actually put this shit to pen and paper. The Laka Waka has been said to somewhat resemble a glowworm, and has been seen for many years near the shore and said to be holding the like wake over the body of her deceased husband.
I'm just like in shock. Keep going. It's like what?
So, first of all, this glowworm has to at least be like 7 or 8 feet tall if you can see it out there. But yeah, so a like wake is actually a Scottish term for a wake where family members, friends, and neighbors take turns watching the corpse. The idea here is that in doing this, they would prevent their deceased loved one from becoming occupied by demons. So when the Laka Waka is actually holding the like wake over a body, I assume it's some kind of a lantern, or maybe not, because they see the thing glowing. So maybe it's something sacred to the family, and they do this and so that the body doesn't become infested with demons, I guess. Infested.
Yeah. So we've seen that in other cultures and stuff like that an unguarded deceased body is prone to some kind of entity taking it over.
Right. So that's what it means by holding the like wake over the body. Many mariners would be terrified of this haunting creature, the Laka Waka, and would actually sail around the island, giving it a very wide berth as to not come anywhere near it. Some say this creature is actually the ghostly thing that has been spotted along the Appledore Island shore. But since I have a few stories to tell you about when it comes to that location, I have to put this cute glowing cryptid on hold for a moment and force you all to listen to a history lesson. So that was just my fun little warm and fuzzy intro. I love glowworms anyways. You know, when I was a kid, do you remember the glowworm that you had? You'd squeeze it and his face would light up.
Yes. Yeah, right? With like the plush body that looked like a little like
super soft. You had
pea or whatever.
Yes,
like
So the Isles of Shoals consist of 9 islands. Some belong to Maine and some to New Hampshire. The islands of New Hampshire are Star, Lunging, White, and Seavey. While I'm, again, hopefully not sticking myself in the damn oops corner, but it looks like CV to me. I got White and Lunging. Those all look right. And Star. Okay.
I think you know how to say those words.
I know those. Maine actually claims Malaga, Duck, Smutty Nose, and Appledore. Lunging Island happens to be a privately owned island. Since Lunging is privately owned, I don't have too much to tell you about it, so I'll give you the haunted scoop on it before I delve into one of the much bigger islands. Not only do many people speculate that Blackbeard buried his treasure on Lunging Island, one of Blackbeard's wives are said to appear on this island as a milky white ladylike figure. I don't know why it's ladylike. I guess maybe she was like, hello, and how do you do?
She's very courteous, even in her death.
So you've got your own amazing little island, possibly buried treasure, and a sweet ghost. Can I come over and caretake for your eerie cottage? I mean, sign me up. Allegedly, White Island has yet another pirate's ghost wife. Now, I did read conflicting stories on whose wife she actually was. She was either another one of Blackbeard's or possibly Captain Kidd's wife. Either way, this one is a bit of a downer. The young woman is said to haunt White Island, and allegedly she roams the island at night in search of her baby.
Oh.
Yeah, so maybe not so much visiting White, but lunging sounds fun. So the first big island I'm going to share with you is unfortunately one that you cannot tour. It is officially off limits, and this would be Appledore Island, otherwise known as Hog Island, which was originally used for farming. Go figure.
Seems like a terrible place to farm, but okay.
I know, out there in the middle of the ocean. I mean, okay. Appledore Island is the largest of the Isles of Shoals and spans 95 acres. A church was built on the island in 1640, and many of those that settled here ended up relocating to Star Island around 1700 to avoid paying taxes. And these people, they literally pulled their homes apart and rowed them over to Star Island and just rebuilt them there. Just like, get in the boat with half of my home.
That's super smart, though.
It's really funny. Like, as soon as I read that, like, that's all I saw. They're just like pulling the dinghies up and they're like, all right, this goes to the bathroom. Let's go and load it up. Let's go. And they're just like on their way.
Like prefab homes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they're just like, yeah, get that into the fucking ship. We're not going to leave it here.
That's my home and I'm not paying taxes. Fuck it.
That's right. They're penny pinchers. So
true. There was something called the Artist's Saloon that was there on the island, and it was a booming business in the later part of the 1800s. Although when it burnt down in 1914, that pretty much ended their time on the island. One such resident was Phillip Babb, and Babb lived on Appledore Island, where he was constable, butcher, and innkeeper. He was a jack of all trades. He was also said to have been a retired pirate who decided to stay on Appledore because of its size. And I'm thinking that might have something to do with all the treasure that he wanted to hide. And that would make more sense to stay on a place that's super big like Appledore, because then he could spread it all over the place instead of just like, one spot. That's all I got. All my treasure goes here.
Well, is less populated, I would assume, too. So if anybody caught wind of what he's got. Also,
right.
I imagine pirates just don't have a good time adjusting to normal life.
Yeah.
So like going ashore, they're like, can't do that. Nope.
I can't deal with that shit.
I'll stay right here.
I really like that thought. I didn't even think about this the whole time. It's like, how would a pirate adjust to everyday life? So Babb, back to him, he was born in England around 1634. He married and had children with his wife. Her name was Mary. Now, some actually claim that he has some sort of relationship to the Don Pedro of the story Ocean-Born Mary. But the complete details on that story are a little bit skewed. And it may turn out that he was the father of the actual Don Pedro, or maybe uncle or a cousin. Some have also indicated that he might have been the actual Don Pedro. But if that's the case, either Phillip Babb or Don Pedro is not buried where they are said to be buried, because he's here and this guy's here sort of situation. But anyways, so that you all know what the heck I'm referring to, I'm going to sidebar here just a little bit and bring you all up to speed. So Ocean-Born Mary was born on a ship, hence the name Ocean-Born Mary. And this happened during a pirate raid. She was spared by the pirate named Don Pedro, but only if her mother agreed to naming the newborn after his mother or his wife, who was in fact named Mary. The mother of the baby agrees, and in the end, Ocean-Born Mary grows up, becomes widowed, and was sought out by the now former pirate Don Pedro. He in turn marries her, and after he is found stabbed to death, one day she buried him with his treasure as he requested, and allegedly her spirit haunts the former ocean-born Mary house, which happens to be in Londonderry, New Hampshire. So, ocean-born Mary, I would really love for there to be some real connection here between the two stories, but I could just be helping to spread a great little rumor because currently there is nothing other than timing and stories that kind of point in that direction. But just in case any of that ever actually does connect due to some historic or scientific backing, then fellow listeners, you heard it here first.
You called it.
I called
Noted.
it. Nevertheless, Phillip Babb left a legacy of freebooting and phantom sightings that the Isles of Shoals shall never forget. Babb's manners were said to have been rudely fashioned, and he was not very well liked by his fellow islanders, hence that whole pirate shit. After his alleged trials and tribulations at sea, Babb settled down to a safer career on the Isles of Shoals, more than likely to avoid the same fate as many of his friends and fellow privateers. Babb was known to wear a heavy butcher's frock with a great knife sheathed on a thick belt. He lived on the south side of the island in a cottage near the cove that now bears his name. Legend states that he once dug a great hole on the island for, quote-unquote, reasons unknown.
Treasure.
Treasure, that's what, yeah. Believe it or not, many think that it was due to him bearing his fortune. So...
You don't say. What if he just couldn't break the habit?
He's just like, I gotta bury something. I don't care what it is. So used to burying treasure, and I don't have any anymore. Yeah. Nope. Phillip Babb ended up dying on March 3rd, 1671. He was buried on Appledore in the family plot, though he did not remain at rest. His ghost roamed the cove allegedly to guard his treasure from trespassers and from hunters. As one of the tales go, one night, an islander was emerging from his workshop when he spied... It's so funny. I spy with my little eye. When he spied a wild form running towards him. At first, he thought it was a friend playing a joke on him, but as the figure got closer, the man peered into the face of a corpse with hideous sunken eyes.
No. Sorry.
You're like out in the middle of the night. Hey, is that Joe Bob? That dude's always up to something. What's he doing tonight? And he just comes running at you. He's like, Joe Bob, hey, it's me. I see. What the fuck is that?
Exactly.
The angry wrath then heaved a giant knife from his belt and brandished it in the frightened man's face. The terrified shoaler fled to the safety of his home. I just love saying that. I guess a person that lives on the Isles of Shoals is now a shoaler.
Because I was like, what the fuck is it? What are you talking? Are you trying to say sailor?
Fancy man, his fancy name, living on the Isles of Shoals.
Got it. They get their own fucking name.
They get their own fucking name. Apparently, he ran so fast that he barely touched the fucking ground along the way.
Very Scooby-Doo like.
Yeah. Yes, you can hear like the weird like banging of the
smoke
the
behind
drums.
it. Yeah.
Another settler on the island. I'm going to skip that whole shoaler nonsense. He said he saw a figure meandering around in the moonlight at Babb's Cove. He did not recognize the form as anyone from the island. He called out to the figure, asking him what the fuck they were doing, and as the shadow got closer to him, the man said that he heard no footsteps on the gravel path. He just wafted towards him.
No.
Yeah. He then recognized the figure to be that of Phillip Babb. The hideous black eye sockets and glowing butcher's frock. Yes, frock, reflected in the moonlight. Sorry, I had to make sure I said that right. In the 19th century, Appledore Island was once home to a large hotel called the Appledore House. I forgot to mention that people back then were super creative when it came to the names of the islands and the hotels and stuff. So,
yeah, they really thought outside the box.
Right. Okay, the Appledore House was actually built in 1847, and it opened up the following year. The hotel, unfortunately, burnt to the ground in 1914, and according to Celia Thaxter, who is like the most popular female poet of the 19th century, she was quoted as having said, and I'm throwing up air quotes again, Phillip Babb, or some evil-minded descendant of his, haunted Appledore. She would often speak of the treasure-hunting Babb and of seeing his terrifying spirit. Hawthorne even wrote about the ghost, referring to him as Old Babb.
Well,
However,
if he said it.
I know, that's what I'm saying. He's like the internet of the day, right? Well,
Right.
if Hawthorne fucking said it, it must be true. However, since the arrival of the school and lab, the ghost of Phillip Babb hasn't been making any more of his terrifying appearances. And as I mentioned earlier, he wasn't a shy ghost. He was the type of spirit that liked to make himself known. The ghost of Phillip Babb had previously been seen holding his butcher's knife and wearing a butcher's apron, and during the time of the hotel, he was often seen in the same manner and on a variety of occasions, which I don't have any more details on, but I wonder if that meant like he'd be in the John. Suddenly, this reformed pirate / butcher is now standing there with a knife.
That would be the worst.
No, that's the worst.
I was just thinking, those scientific motherfuckers, they just don't take those weird moments to heart. They're like, there's got to be an explanation for it. I don't have it, but it could be there. And that's why they're not documenting.
That's true.
Seeing something.
That's an interesting point. I'm glad that you brought that up, because it seems now that one of the most common theories about Phillip Babb's ghost's disappearance stems from the hotel's demise. Timing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So hang on. Just stick with me for a second.
Mm-hmm.
As the ghost of Phillip Babb has no longer been seen or heard from since that hotel burnt to the ground, it's been theorized that one reason behind his repeated ghostly appearances within the hotel might have actually been due to the hotel bowling alley that had been built directly over this man's grave.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, they're just like bowling it up, and they're like, I don't know why I keep getting a bogey, or what is it called? When you hit the gutter ball, I just keep getting because he's like, stop that racket, and he's coming up with his knife.
Right, that's really just grateful. So yeah, he probably burnt that hotel to the ground.
Right, I can't say for sure, but his spirit was lingering and haunting the island before the hotel ever went up, and then afterwards, he was spotted in the hotel. Maybe coincidence. Maybe it was just warmer inside the hotel.
I bet it was.
You know what I'm saying? He's like, ooh, it's kind of cold outside. But since the 1970s, the island has been the operating station of the Shoals Marine Laboratory, run cooperatively by Cornell University and the University of New Hampshire. The island is mostly owned by the Star Island Corporation, and though the Babb family cemetery is still on the island, there have not been any new sightings of Phillip Babb. So back to what you were suggesting a little while ago, now that the school is there and the scientists are there, they're not paying any attention to what might be going on outside. Also, the hotel is no longer on top of this man's grave. So if he is out there floating around and doing his like, I'm in a butcher's frock and I've got a knife, they're like, whatever, we're looking at seals. So
we're busy. But the idea that the hotel is gone and that put him at rest makes a bit more sense, because it's not to say that every scientist would dismiss, paranormal-ish activity. I'm sure they're always looking for something that could be like the next discovery. So
yeah, I agree. I would assume that they'd be keeping their eyes peeled. I mean, they're definitely watching the seals, and I'm sure they're like, for some reason, the seals just won't eat anywhere near that cemetery. I don't know why. It's not because they're just very courteous seals. They're like, no, I can't eat around the dead. I'm sorry. Throw my fish over here. I want to see the ocean instead. They've got to be taking notes on that. But yes, going back to my glowing cryptid, before I move on, I have a teeny bit more on this one to offer you. Remember Celia Thaxter and how she said exactly these words, Phillip Babb or some evil-minded descendant of his haunts the place? Well, according to one eyewitness of the same Celia Thaxter specter, said that the stripes in the frock gleamed like phosphorescent light, and so did its awful eyes. Mm. So there may have been more than one entity haunting the island the whole time, and poor old retired pirate Phillip Babb was just getting blamed for all of it.
As pirates do.
As pirates do. He was the pirate. And I mean, like every single time. But it's interesting to me, like some people actually say, I saw this man's face and his dark sunken in eyes. And then some people are like glowing phosphorescent lights. There's a definite variation here of things that are going on. And going back to one of the encounters that I mentioned earlier, where a man said he saw the butcher's frock glowing in the moonlight. Well, that could have actually been mistaken for a mistaken identity, whatever. It could have been the Laka Waka instead of Phillip Babb. So Phillip Babb might not be haunting the island anymore because the hotel's gone and he is at rest, but maybe something else is still there.
Interesting.
Do. So next up is the lovely and horrible Star Island. And on this island, it isn't just one house that's haunted. It's allegedly the whole damn village. Get ready for this one. Many people have lost their lives on the island over the years, and residents say the ghosts of the dead continue to roam this island today. And it has 5 bedrooms and 2 full baths. Come and tour this lovely resort.
35 ghosts.
Who wouldn't want to spend time here? It sounds lovely.
Does to us.
Yes. Star Island is now a beautiful summer resort and also home to a hotel that is still standing and the residential houses. This little island dates all the way back to the 1600s when it was just a little fishing community. Now it sits out there in the ocean, waiting for tourists to visit it for the views, the history, and of course, all the wonderful paranormal activity. It is second in size at 46 acres. Star Island is the only island served by a commercial boat from the mainland. It is a religious and educational conference center. Owned by the Star Island Corporation, which is affiliated with the Unitarian Universalist Association and the United Church of Christ. During the summer, the island hosts a number of week-long and shorter conferences which make use of the Oceanic Hotel, Gosport House, and the 150-year-old super amazing chapel, as well as several buildings that date back to the original village. Ask me about getting a brochure for the women's conference. I'll tell you more about that later. So, from the Oceanic Hotel front porch, you are supposed to be able to look out over the doctor's cottage. So, as I said earlier, we got to tour Star Island, and from the porch, there are no small cottages. And since this is said to be seen as if you can just look over at it, I have to assume they mean the building that was directly across from the Oceanic Hotel. We actually started our tour of the island here, and this little place has a bit of a sinister story. So, 50 years ago, an elderly couple, i.e. the doctor and his wife, decided to make a suicide pact as their health was deteriorating. Can you imagine that?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I have a lot of love in my heart, but not that much.
I just can't go and I got to make sure that I go with you, and we're old, so we're just going to do this. So those two, they divided their medications, and the doctor passes away. Though his wife wakes up the next morning. I don't even know what happened to her, though. That's pretty much it for their tale. Maybe she woke up and was like, I guess I needed more than he did, and then kicks back the last of their vodka with whatever pills she can scrounge up in the house. I don't know, but that's it. That's all that I know. They had this pact. He died first. She was supposed to die with him. She died later. However, now people have seen figures walking through the room at the cottage, and they just kind of go straight through the walls. Like, they see those shadows and they just go right on through. Visitors have described having similar experiences, as well as hearing the sounds of footsteps, loud bangs, and the feeling like being pushed when walking up the staircase. In the Oceanic Hotel, an old man with white hair and a white beard has been spotted floating down the stairs. In one account, he stopped for a moment, smiled, and then disappeared into thin air. He seems like a nice guy. Yeah. Hanging out. He's like, hey, lady. And you're like, what? Poof. He's gone. Well, that was weird. Visitors have also reported seeing the ghostly image of a lady dressed all in white, lurking at the top of the stairs near the attic. The third and fourth floors of the hotel are said to be extremely haunted, and people staying there regularly hear strange noises coming from the attic. They say it sounds as if someone is moving furniture or even scratching at the walls.
Ooh.
Sometimes doors open and close on their own. Many people have claimed to have spotted a very strange black dog with bright red eyes roaming around the island at night.
Nope.
And wait, if you approach the dog or if it walks towards you, the dog just simply vanishes, much like my cat. So that's kind of neat, right? No need to be terrified of the red glowing-eyed dog, which may actually be a hellhound. Just, let it come towards you and see what happens.
Well, no, man up and go torch it is what it's saying,
right.
And it'll disappear. That's easier said than done.
No, that's not something I would do. I don't really get along well with red glowing-eyed animals of any sort. Not possums.
I think I'm allergic to hellhounds. So,
I thought that was an interesting one. Like I said, it's just one of those things that as it approaches you, it just disappears, which is kind of interesting for hellhounds. I haven't looked honestly too deep into them. I would assume that they'd be like, I don't know, so what? Their eyes are red and glowing, but when they want to play, do they want a cookie? What? It's a hound still, isn't it?
Right. So probably like a large hell cat, because a cat would run away.
Right. And that's what it's doing.
When challenged.
Just a friendly, scaredy cat. Next up is Cottage E, also known on the island as the Fisherman's Home. This place is now used as a cottage for guests. A Revolutionary War family lived here and had a little boy who, like all little boys, are always bored to death and wanting mom and dad's attention. As the unfortunate story goes, his parents sent him outside basically to get out of their way, and he sadly fell on the rocks, breaking his neck and dying. Though, this is what's really fucked up. The poor boy wasn't discovered for several days later.
What the fuck? No.
Thank you. Wait, many people had already given up thinking that the boy just disappeared.
No.
Because I'm like, wait a second. There must be something really serious going on this island where people are just like, yup, he's gone. So let's go back to doing whatever we do. That's pretty much how this story goes. So, like I said, he was found. His body was laying on the jagged rocks at the base of a cliff. And since his death, many people have reported falling down the stairs and reporting what they say feels like little hands on their ankles or on their backs when they fall.
Ooh.
So, right? PSA to all. Maybe this kid was kind of pissed off about the whole thing. Like, what the fuck, guys? I just wanted to go play. And now I'm down here. Nobody's looking for me for days. And now he just wants others to fall also.
Be with him, I guess.
Maybe. Just be very careful over there. I don't know if you really want to end up as another ghost on this island. It seems like it might be kind of crowded.
Yes, I would agree. I fucking hate those parents. What year was this?
Oh, shit. I don't even have the year. That one, I didn't say. I would say maybe 1800s, 1860s.
Fuck. It could have been the 1980s and it still sounds about right.
Right. They were watching 1980s. What was on? Was Days of Our Lives on back then?
They were just fucking busy. Get out of my hair.
Yeah, I don't have the date for you. Sorry. I have the date for the next one. There were 3 little sisters that all died within a few weeks of each other. This was back in 1863. Those girls ended up dying from scarlet fever, and over many years since then, people have claimed to see the 3 little girls playing in an area near their grave sites. Though as you approach them, they either run off in the other direction from which you're chasing them, or they simply vanish too. I don't know what it is about this island, and maybe the energy, they just like, nope, they see me and I'm out of here, or what?
Well, I would think that because part of the year the island is pretty much not inhabited, or it's inhabited by a very small amount of people, they get used to being alone.
That makes sense. So when somebody all of a sudden spots them, they're kind of like, whoa, wait, they're not supposed to be looking at me or chasing me or what?
Where'd you come from? Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. That's just one theory.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, actually. I also read that in the same area, which is the area by the graves, that the rocks nearby will move on their own as if being pushed or bumped into. And you saw the size of those rocks. They're not fucking pebbles. So
No.
moving that would take a little bit of a force, I would think.
Yes.
And let us not forget that lovely, spooky old chapel on Star Island where we sat for what seemed like maybe 10 minutes, but lost track of time and almost missed our boat out of there. But maybe, Wendy, maybe that was their plan all along.
Maybe. We morphed into another time zone. We tell it. What was that? What we kept talking about afterwards?
Yeah, with the time travel or where we lost track of time,
I don't remember now.
See? We can't remember because they stole our memory too.
Yes, but just note to everyone, an hour and a half on the island is not enough time.
If you really want to explore a lot of what the place has, you need more than an hour and a half, definitely.
Yeah.
So this place is supposed to be especially eerie, and people have claimed to hear singing coming from the inside. One person visiting the chapel said he looked through the window and saw ghostly forms or shadows moving around inside. When he entered, they disappeared, and he found the chapel cold, lonely, and empty, just like we found it. So those are the stories that I've been hearing about and reading about since I've moved to New England, and now I finally get to geek out and go back to my paranormal curious roots and give a shout out to the team that originally put this place on the map for me. That's right. I'm setting all this up to give a shout out to the guys and the gals, I guess I should say, that like to sit on couches and watch hangers getting tossed at them. AKA the Taps team. But in case you're not a huge TV nerd and that reference doesn't ring any bells, which I highly doubt, then I also mean ghost hunters. So they filmed an episode on Star Island back in November of 2008. And we all got to see that whole thing play out on the Sci-Fi Channel back in the day. Jason Hawes and Grant Wilson led a multi-day investigation on the Isles of Shoals, though the episode was only half an hour long. It's almost like they were in that time warp too. They had to catch that boat just like we did. Cut it off. We got to catch our boat. They had been contacted by the island curator, Sarah O'Connor, and she said that their findings left her with the feeling that her experiences had been validated. Among their paranormal findings are audio recordings of footsteps in O'Connor's office while no one was there, thermal imaging of a door that closed by itself when they were inside something known as the vault. I'm assuming it is a legit vault because they have some like things there that are, I don't know, somewhat expensive, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I just think of like Indiana Jones and like the Temple of Doom or something. And it's like, I don't know, gold vases or, it's junk really, but it's supposed to be like expensive stuff. Maybe it's just like grandma's silver. They're like, this is so valuable in the family. It's China. I don't know. I don't know what they got, but they were in the vault. Also, one of the most impressive of their findings was a voice that they recorded that offhandedly responded to a comment Jason made about a doll in a nursery being the creepiest baby doll he's ever seen. The voice sounded like it responded to him saying either, "It's not that creepy," or "It's not that creepy at all," but the voice trails off, so it's kind of hard to make out exactly what it's saying there at the end. You know how that goes. You and all of you other lovely listeners who are ghost hunters or paranormal enthusiasts who have gone with your recording devices and you're desperately trying to hear what it says, and you're like, I got the first two words. It is this, but I can't make out the rest of it. That's kind of where the scenario is leading to. It's either it's not that creepy, or it could be it's not that creepy at all.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. Maybe
imagine if the ghosts are just flying in on a rope,
right,
and then they're flying out, and so that's how they talk, and then they fly in and they fly out, and it's just like it's a stage, and they're swinging back and forth.
I like that analogy. That's exactly, because it comes in all of a sudden, nice and clear, and then it goes out.
Ooh, just like with the wind. There you go.
Then there is the Vaughn Cottage, which is the island museum and office upstairs. Yeah, they named their offices cool names like the Vaughn Cottage. O'Connor, as well as others, have reported hearing what sounds like someone rummaging around either upstairs or downstairs whenever she's on one of the other floors. It's like, I hear it upstairs, I go upstairs, now I hear it downstairs. What the hell is happening here?
That's kind of unnerving, as if they're trying, I don't know,
right.
if they're just being sneaky little fucks around you, or they're trying to like drive you insane.
Insane. Yep. That's exactly what I thought of. Now, a lot of times too, when you're actually paranormal investigating, when you hear a noise in this direction and you chase it and then nothing happens and then suddenly you hear something in the other way, you get the feeling like it was trying to bring you somewhere away from, its ultimate goal. It actually wanted to check out what was going on over here, but let me throw a stone over there. And the ghost hunter goes running down the hallway. What's here, So
it's just a really fun game for them is how I imagine it.
I mean, right? You got hellhounds that disappear when you get up close to them. They're like, why not? Let's just fuck with these people. So on to the 4th floor of the Oceanic Hotel, which is now mainly staff housing. It has a very long hallway with lots of doors that lead into the individual rooms. It looks like a dorm. When I toured the hotel the first time, there were boxes upon boxes of empty liquor bottles. So, dorm, yes. Yeah. It was like these people, it was like a dorm. Like I was like, they are getting crunk up in here. Do people say that? Note to self, I just spewed out my age to everyone listening. Anyways, Jennifer Cook, who is a former employee, told a story about being asleep and hearing doors opening and closing when nobody else was up. Also, the reports of furniture moving around in the attic come from here. But guess what? There's no furniture up there. And in the staircase where people see the ghostly image of whom they refer to as Oscar, and he's also appearing in the mirror as well as the lady in white who appears in the same area on different occasions. So this was the friendly guy kind of smiles and disappears, the lady who seems to be lurking or whatever. This is the same couple. And I wonder if she's looking for Oscar or maybe vice versa, especially since he's been seen checking himself out in the mirror, like he's looking for love in all the wrong places, Oscar.
And she's like, where the fuck is that Oscar?
That's why she's lurking. She's like, where is he? He's supposed to be up here. So anyways, Sarah O'Connor says the experiences that the Ghost Hunters team had helped to solidify her own personal experiences, saying, quote unquote, it certainly does validate some of my own experiences. How about that? So now on to our little island adventure, because this is all about the Wendy and Chris story after all. So guys, we hopped on board an early morning ferry and tugged across the ocean to the little island. And after seeing a beached sailboat, the abandoned prison, and several forts, even a playful little harbor seal, I assume, nothing was more interesting along the way than the people we briefly came in contact with while on said boat. So, I mean, where do I even begin here? We decided to come up with names for some of these people because we didn't actually, we met one of them, name and all, but I'm not going to dish out her name just in case she's a listener, and I bet she is. We first ran into a couple who was starting to get their drink on, what was it, 9:30 in the morning?
Yes, it was.
And we thought this lady was going to jump off the boat. She kept turning around, putting her legs off the boat. The captain, who oddly sounds a lot like one of the guys from Better Call Saul, kept announcing, ladies, gentlemen, please, ladies especially, put your feet on the boat.
That lady right in front of me.
There.
Quit fucking doing that. She took her shoes off. She's perched on the bench like a damn bird or something. Yeah. And then she's turning around and then putting her feet off and everything. Had she been drinking before she even got on the boat?
No, I say no, and only because
that's right.
We never heard that woman's voice until after round one finished. And then she opened her mouth and I was like, what? That doesn't even match her face. It was such a bizarre cartoon-like voice that I can't even describe it to you all. You just had to be there, I guess, to hear it. It was so bad. And then there was a couple sitting next to them, and that lady, that's probably, it has to be like time warp, and that's probably me in the future because she was super cool. She had an ankle tattoo. She had these earrings with large hands on them that were waving at us as every like wave in the ocean that we hit, her little hands were waving. I was like, hey, what's up? I said hi to you a second ago. She keeps waving at me with her hand earrings. And her husband, who I don't know what we named him, Charles. I don't know if he's going to make it, but I know he was in there for the long run, but they were cute. There was a bunch of cute people on the boat too, but getting back to one of the other people that we met was one lady who happened to be from the Unitarian Church. Wendy and I knew as soon as she started talking to us that that's who this woman was. First of all, Wendy and everybody on board saw a harbor seal, I guess, or a seal out in the water. So everyone's like, oh my God, that's so cute. They all take pictures. And one after another, they come around the corner and they're like, what did you see? And Wendy's like, it was a seal. And they're like, oh, who cares? I see plenty of those. And then another person, what did you see? And Wendy's like, it was a cute little seal, I guess. And they're like, so what? Who cares? And I'm kind of like, seriously, why are you even on this boat? You don't care about seals? One after another. And then another lady comes up. And at this point, I'm almost like, don't talk to them. But this lady comes up and she goes, what did you see? And Wendy's like, a seal. And she's like, oh my God, I love seals. And Wendy's like, thank you. Jesus. We all love seals.
What have we been doing this whole time? Everybody's holding out for a damn free whale tour, basically.
Right.
And hoping that we see some damn, I guess they're like, you'd see like blue whales out there, right?
Yeah, all kinds of stuff is out there. Sure. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They were holding out, hoping for the free whale tour. So she comes around the corner and Wendy's like, it was a seal. And she's like, yeah, I love seals. I'm like, yeah, I know, me too. So finally we get all excited again because somebody on this boat appreciates seals. And we get to talking to her for a second. And as she continues on, she's like, is this your first trip out here? And I'm like, no, I've been here. This is her first trip. She's like, oh, you're going to love it. And like, as soon as she said that, it was like the horror music, kind of like, brah, brah. It wasn't Jaws, but that's the only thing I can think of since we're on a boat. Brah, brah. You'll want to come back. Brah, brah, again. And again. Brah, brah. Like, it was like, holy shit, what did we just walk into? So she was super friendly. I'm not I'm saying this like she pulled a knife on us or something. She didn't, but
with her eyes.
With her eyes, she did. So
it was one of those things you just knew, like, whoops, I have entered into conversation with people I did not ask for. I just wanted to tell you about the seal.
Right, exactly. Let's go back to talking about the seal and how cool it is. We were led into a conversation about coming back for the women's conference, hence the sick comment I made earlier about grabbing a brochure. She was like, you ladies would love it. You should come back for the women's conference. It's all over the internet, but if you can't, seem to find it or whatever, grab a brochure when you get off of the boat. Ask anybody. They'll give you a brochure. We're like, thanks, lady.
We got it.
Will. No more eye contact. Trying so hard to put our blinders on. When we get to the pier, she suddenly starts like yelling out something that we didn't understand as English right away. It was just like all of a sudden, like everything's peaceful. We're finally here, and it's like, yay, there it is. And then it was just like loud noise, and then there's clapping going on too. It was along the lines of we came back, but there was more to it. Some possible secret culty code of some sort. I think
they were spelling out the hotel. I know that for sure. And chanting.
They were all about it. And there were people on the pier as soon as she and one other guy started doing their blah blah blah. Someone on the pier started doing it too. And it was like, what did I just bring Wendy to? Oh my God, are we going to make it out here alive? Because like I immediately go to the worst. My mind is not like we're here to explore. Now it's like, holy fucking shit, this is a cult.
Maybe we just wait on the boat,
Right?
This is also a part of why it's so fearful to miss your boat.
I know, right? Thank you for pointing that out.
Don't let that happen.
Right. Get out of there, guys. You know when that thing leaves, and go. So speaking of going, as soon as it docked and we realized that our fears were correct, that lady was part of it, we got off that boat as soon as we could. We were on the dock and we were sprinting. And we were like immediately trying to get to the graveyard. And I have to mention this before either one of us forget.
Yes, you fucking do.
This was super. Okay, so as if none of that was weird, this was weird. We're walking up to the graveyard, and there's like 7 dudes up there that all launch frisbees at us at the same time. And we're watching this like, what the hell is this craziness? Kind of expecting to see some sort of continued event. Like they went chasing after their frisbees, and maybe there was like a challenge course that we overlooked while we were walking up. But no. We walk up to the graveyard. Those guys lunge out after their frisbees, and they were like the hellhounds. They disappeared.
That is so right, though. We just kept walking, ignore it. We get out to the graveyard, and we turned back to look out towards the boat, and I didn't see no fuckers.
There were no dudes. It was peaceful. It was people coming off the boat still, like trying to make their way up. Those dudes were gone.
They were ghosts.
They were
weird. Frat boy ghosts.
Yeah. And where did they go?
Where they just disappeared.
They were gone. That was weird. Okay, so we get to the little graveyard. We get to take some pictures. They do have some beautiful kites that were strung up to the graveyard. I remember seeing them. We spent a little time over there, not enough really to investigate, just taking pictures and kind of experiencing it. It's a beautiful little cemetery that you can see, the coast and the ocean from. So it's just a neat experience to be over there. But we left from the graveyard, went around the front of the Oceanic Hotel. And as I said earlier in my story, we kind of made our way from this little split between the Oceanic Hotel and another building, which might actually have been that cottage. So we continued walking. We made our way into the chapel. And as I mentioned earlier, we totally lost track of time in there. This was really the only building it was the only building we got to investigate because our time had been cut so short. But while we were in there, we actually got a few EVPs.
Which was so exciting. Like, it made it worth it.
Yeah.
Had we spent more time on the island, could we have gotten more shit? Sure, right. I guess. But we got that chapel to ourselves for so long.
Oh, wow.
That it made for like a decent, what we thought 10-minute investigation was apparently a fucking 45-minute investigation.
Right, exactly. We sat in there apparently for almost an hour, like Wendy said, 45 minutes. But yes, it was during the daytime. I mean, like I said earlier, we caught that ferry early. I think it was 9:30. So we were there at 10, I guess, 10 o'clock, 10:30. I don't even remember, but it was early daytime hours. The sun was up. Things were happening on the island. Wendy and I go into this chapel, and this is the most bizarre thing. We're in the chapel just kind of looking around, just like tourists do. We're just looking at stuff, taking pictures. People poke their heads in and immediately leave. Like, they're like, oh, no, I'm not dealing with them. I don't know what kind of perfume I was wearing or if I just gave off this fuck off vibe. I wish I knew how to do that on a regular basis, but they would poke their heads in and just peace out. Like, I don't know what they were seeing. They didn't like it or what, or they just got enough of it that they just got out of there. So we did have the whole place to ourselves. There was a good span of time when we sat down in those pews and we started recording and filming and stuff that nobody was walking up. Nobody was peeking their heads in. Nothing was happening except for the fucking crazy ass birds. The seagulls went bananas as soon as we started recording. Don't know why. They were unhappy with the whole situation. So we sit down in pews. I'm in a pew in front of Wendy. We're looking at their Unitarian church books or whatever that are stacked on the pews with us. And Wendy happens to say, I want to learn about the Lord. Now, mind you, we are doing an EVP session. We are asking questions. So we're just trying to make a connection. And Wendy says, I want to learn about the Lord. And right after she says that, there is a quick whisper that we caught, and it sounds like it's saying, thank you. It's just breathy and a whisper, and it's almost like it's accepting of us sitting in there now and, kind of talking to it, right?
Yeah. We had said a lot of stuff before that, and that was the first response that we got.
Right, exactly. That was the first one that we got. Now, as we're still sitting there, we're still in ghost hunting mode at this time, or a paranormal investigation, I guess I should say. Not a lot of people actually approve of the ghost hunting terminology, but we're still sitting in there in this chapel, and we're continuing our line of questioning. So the next question right after that was if it can tell us its name. And we get a response. It's so faint. It's so hard to make out. And I listened to it 1,000 times because the crazy thing is, I immediately heard 2 syllables, and in my mind, I thought it was a direct response to what I was asking. I heard it give me the name Brandon. I heard 2 syllables, and that's what I heard. And it's really hard when you hear something, or if somebody tells you what they think what they hear, because you automatically put it to reference. So that's all you hear. That's all you hear. Now, I've listened to this. How long has it been since you've been here, Wendy? 2 weeks?
Yes.
I couldn't even tell you how many times I've listened to this in the 2 weeks, but it's been at least 1,000 times. I've just sat there listening to it over and over. I've even dreamed about listening to this EVP over and over again, because at this point, I want a name so desperately. I want to go back and be like, I heard you. I heard you give me a name. This is the name that I got. So-and-so, please try to communicate with me more. But now that I've listened to it so many times, I do still hear the 2 syllables, but I don't think it was ever giving us a name. At this point, now that I've listened to it so many times, I actually hear amen.
Oh.
Right, it's a good thing, because we were in a chapel and we were talking about God and stuff. So it is relative, but I don't think it is responding to the question that I had. I think it was still in prayer. We were asking about the Lord. We were talking, help us to, learn about the Lord or whatever. And I got to thank you. And then I said, can you tell us our name? And I really do feel like it says amen.
Yeah. And you always wonder if the energy that it takes for them to respond to you, that it's delayed,
Sure.
know? So you worry about going a little too quickly and asking questions.
Right.
So you only give a pause for about a minute, and then you ask another question, and they're still working on the last thing that you said or whatever.
Right. It was still exactly working on the last thing you said. You're exactly right. And that's one thing about doing burst sessions, which makes it so hard. Is it still conversing with something you said in the past? In this situation, it might have been, or it might not have been an intelligent spirit. It might have just been something that was replaying over and over again.
Absolutely.
Either way, I'd still like to go back. Even though I didn't get a name, once I finally recognized it's saying, to me, that's what I hear. Amen. That makes so much sense. But I need a little help with this one, and there is a lot of interference there. So the clip is not going to be the best of quality, just FYI. When I put that out there, you're going to hear the ocean because we're on an island. You're going to hear seagulls because they are there. They were like
loud.
so loud, which is so weird, because while we were sitting there doing our thing, it didn't even seem like they were that loud to us. But when I played it back, it was like, holy crap. Like the recorder picked them up so fiercely. It was intense.
Yeah. It's like your fucking sensitive ass mic, It's like, you're like, that doesn't sound that loud to me. But then when we were playing it back, we were like, are there ghost seagulls screaming into the fucking recorder? Like, why are they so damn loud? But yeah, it is probably not the best EVP or clip or anything like that. But it was exciting that during the day on a small little tour and spending what we thought was 15 minutes in there. We really don't know how much time it was.
Right.
Like some time warp. It was just exciting to walk away with something, because you think in an hour and a half being on an island that you're not going to, this is just going to be us walking around and seeing the buildings and getting a feel for what it is. We're not really going to be able to investigate. But it shows you that you always need to be ready with your recorders going, because you just never know what's being said to you. Like we said, it's not the best evidence. But for us, the connection with the spirits is that's all we're trying to do, that even if it's a very breathy, even if it's a very faint noise, we want to know what they're saying to us, because you can always go back because you live there and you can create a dialogue with them.
Exactly. Right? Because if you go prepared, I mean, we got 2 EVPs and 2 EVPs are better than none.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
And I would love to get back out there and do some more research. I even saw that they do a night tour, and I think I'm going to try and squeeze one of those in just to see if there's anything else lurking out there at night, even though it seems like the daytime can be just as active, which we know from past experiences that, if the place is definitely haunted, then you can get stuff during the day. Mm-hmm. Maybe even better stuff, even creepier, because you don't expect it during the day. I mean, you don't expect something like that to come out during a tour. You just expect, I'm going to try and see if there's anything. And then, if it happens, it happens. If it don't, it don't. And when it does, we're both like, yes, we got something.
Totally worth it. Maybe the seagulls are asleep at night, though.
Yeah, hopefully, because damn, there's some loud asses. But if I do end up doing the thing at night, I'll be able to take like my night vision camera and my full spectrum too, and maybe I can get someone to help me on that, since I'm just a one-man party without my Wendy. I'll just have to be super careful around those cliffs, as I've learned already the hard way. I'm a bit clumsy. And looking through a viewfinder of a camera while wandering around some unknown areas can get me hurt. Like when I busted my knee at the cemetery in New Orleans.
Oh, that was really bad.
So bad. My leg is still jacked up from that experience, which is one that we've never even shared on the podcast. And I was thinking about that. I was like, oh my God, that was we've talked about New Orleans, because it was just like, oh my God, this is such an amazing thing. But like everything that we got to experience there was such a super cool experience, and something that we'll have to get to eventually. But yes, so I don't know if wandering around an island at night is a good idea for me, but I'll have to take my chance, I guess. So I'll let you know when I'm doing it, just in case we need to say our goodbyes.
It's probably best you do take your other half there instead of me, because he won't be into it, where I will be like, this is amazing. Exactly. Chris, where are you?
Both of us will have our faces in a camera and we'll never see where the other one goes.
Yeah, and I'd be like, I swear she was just here 2 days ago.
Right. Did you get scratching upstairs? Maybe that's Chris. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, right. It'll be like a horror movie for sure. So guess what? I'm actually going to turn this into a 2-parter, because I have more. Yes, that's right. I have more to share with you, but not enough time. So I will have to do part 2 so that I can cover one of the islands that is famous in the Isles of Shoals. But to find out what that is, you'll just have to stay tuned. It is another really interesting story, and I tried to figure out a way to shorten it so that I could squeeze it into this episode, but I just couldn't cliff notes that one. So on a future episode, you'll get to hear more stories of New England. In the meantime, if you've been to Star Island and you were lucky enough to investigate it, or you've had any strange experiences or caught any super cool EVPs in the chapel like we did, why don't you just drop us a line? It's creaturesofthenight@paranormal@gmail.com and tell us all about it.
Yes, please do. Share with us if you've had any experiences like we have. If you warped time while you were there, that would be really that would really help our argument against our other halves, because when we were trying to explain it to them, they, as most things we tell them, they thought that we were pretty fucking ridiculous. So we would like some backup there, please. Maybe that was just us that had the time warp. Maybe it's just us that don't keep time very well. I don't know. But if you had a paranormal experience, please share it with us. And if you don't like typing in that whole long email address, then you can always go to our forms of social media. You can go to COTN_paranormal on Instagram, and you can direct message us, or you can comment on any of our posts throughout the week, or you can go to COTN paranormal, no underscore, on Facebook or Twitter, and you can direct message there too as well. So yeah, please share those stories with us if you've been to the island and you've had any experience, because we'd like some justification, I guess, for the shit that we experienced when we were there.
True. And also, if you're thinking of starting up a lobster shack, do not steal my name. I'm looking into trademark Laka Waka Lobster Roll Truck.
Don't you dare do that. We will fucking slash your tires if you start a food truck by that name.
We do that sort of thing. P.S. One more thing, guys. I have been trying to get the blog back up and running, although it is a bit of a process. Yes, I just realized I should actually put the blog stuff on a blog and not so much on Instagram. So getting back to our roots with www.ibelievinghosts.com, which is where our little team started trying to connect with more paranormal enthusiasts or like-minded people like us, as Wendy mentioned earlier. So please visit the site more for our stuff. And I promise I will update it with more blogs, but I'm currently playing catch up. So more to come on that.
And again, if you didn't catch that, that's a different web address because we have two websites. One tries to keep up with the other, but the blogs first go to IBelieveInGhosts.com. Yes, it's the most adorable fucking website name ever for paranormal investigators. And we're not giving it up either. So go to that one and you can view. We have said this in the past that we are trying to put like our transcripts. Not really, because if we would type up all the stupid bullshit that we said during this podcast, we'd not have jobs, and then we'd be living in boxes on the sidewalk. No, because we wouldn't have electricity. But we do type out our podcast stories, and if it's possible for us to translate that into blog-ish form, but if we can, we will put those stories out there for you. And so that's what Chris is going to try to do with this one. You got to go to IBelieveInGhosts.com for that first and foremost. It might someday be on the other website, but again, very slow process when you're doing it all yourself. Also, just so you know, her part 2 will not be next week. So if you're only tuning in so that you can find out about the rest of New England and Star Island-ish, Isles of Shoals area, then you're going to want to skip a week. Because if you
hold on a second,
sorry,
just wait. It's like Endgame. You have to wait a whole season to get. It's going to be next week, but it'll be a part 2. Just so you know.
No, if you're not a regular listener to the podcast, obviously we switch off every other week. So next week will be my story, and then the week after should be her part 2, unless she just fucking gets gets some crazy wild idea and does something totally different.
I am a Gemini, for those of you who are just now joining us for the first time, and I definitely might be like, oh, but this story is so much better. Everyone has to hear about this one now. So there will be more to come on the Isles of Shoals. Don't know when. You'll just have to stay tuned.
Yeah, that's how we're tricking you to listen to more
episodes.
Right. Just in case you're really into this one.
Right. Hopefully you guys are. And I hope that you enjoyed it.
Also, if you happen to be listening to this and you're part of the cult that's on that island.
Oh, we love you guys. Everything is cool. And I do not live in New Hampshire. Neither does Wendy. Nobody lives here.
Her name is not really Chris Duncan.
That's right. It's Trisha. But anyways,
all right. But thank you so much for sharing that story, because in our brief time at Star Island, I didn't get the full thing, and especially the stuff of the other islands. I love ghostly pirates, and they always make for really good stories. So thank you for sharing that with us.
You're welcome. It's very hard to actually give you the rundown of the haunted island as we're power walking our way through it.
Trying to not get attacked by little children ghosts taking us down on rocks. Yeah. Or cult members. Yes.
Right, those two. Definitely.
For sure.
So stay away from cult members and visit the Isles of Shoals and drop us a line. Let us know what you find.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks.
And bye.
Bye.